What is going on? Welcome to Dharma Time here on WPSN99.com. There we go. I had to throw my little Brett thing in there.
I saw that.
That's right, man. Problem solving network over here. I'm your host, the Dharma Guy, here always with Mr. the Dope Doctor. How you doing?
What's up, brother? I'm doing good.
I'm doing all right, man. It took me a minute to get into the headspace for this.
Yeah?
We were doing our sports show earlier.
That's right, man.
It's also on WPSN99.com.
That's right.
It's called The Morning After with Dope and Dharma. But yes, I was in a sport mindset.
Yeah, we were even streaming solutions for sports. Man.
That's right, man. Exactly. Anyways, I digress. So, as usual, let's just jump right into this, man. Let's just do it.
I love it.
I think that's the only way we're going to get it going. All right, so we were trying to come up with a topic today.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that we were both wanting to center it around somehow, some way, was the R. Kelly stuff that's happening. And then that led into multiple different kind of side discussions. And what we finally came up with, I think, kind of encompasses all of that in a way. Don't worry, we'll make it fit. And that is happiness or pleasure is not happiness.
Right.
Right? Because I think that I do believe that's a good topic. I think a lot of people confuse the two. One of my favorite phrases I say to so many people, and I live by, and that is you can be right or you can be happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that a lot of people confuse the two. I think a lot of people confuse pleasure with happiness.
Yep.
Joy, things of that nature. I think they think that is happy.
Yep.
Because oftentimes when I ask somebody, like, what makes you happy, they always come up with these very pleasurable things.
Something temporary.
Very joyous things. And one guy said to me, what brings him happiness was playing his guitar or something like that. I was like, okay, well, what if you can't anymore? Well, I can always play. I was like, well, what if you lost your hands? You mean to tell me that you're just never going to be happy then for the rest of your life? It's impossible. Nothing in this world could ever bring you happiness because you lost your hands and you can't play your guitar anymore.
Yeah, that would suck.
And he's like, well, I was like, yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't suck. But there's plenty of people out there that lose limbs, or plenty of people who lose important things to them that move on and find happiness.
A lot of runners, a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
Can no longer do athletics. So,
Yeah.
I mean, your analogy actually works for them.
Yeah, absolutely. So
what if you can never play football again?
Yeah. And that's the thing. And so I think that people kind of mistake that happiness is really a state of mind. It's not a thing outside yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem, though, is this incessant chase for happiness. And this confusion of what it really is causes us to do things that aren't really good for us long term, that don't really bring us happiness.
Right.
And the thing that, what we're talking about now is like cutting corners or doing maybe deceitful things or doing something that is immediately gratifying right now.
Right.
Not realizing that long term you're setting yourself up for failure, essentially. Because what you're doing at the moment is not going to be sustainable for long term happiness.
Damn straight it's not.
Right. And I think that's kind of the route we're going to take today.
Kind of wish it was, though.
Oh, of course. That would be. How
sustainable.
awesome would that be? How awesome would that be just to cut corners all day long and be long term happy? That would be amazing.
I was so good at cutting corners. I'm pretty sure I still am.
Well, like for instance, we all have. Well, we all don't have kids, but a lot of us have
That's
kids.
what I thought you were going with that. I think we all have kids.
Yeah, but I had to catch myself. Not everybody listening has kids. Like I'll say for myself, I have kids, and I always look for teaching moments.
Right.
And the reason why I call them teaching moments is because I'm trying to teach them some sort of lesson through what they just did to help them understand that what they just did is not good long term.
Right. So many teaching moments.
Which is very difficult for little kids, by the way, because little kids obviously, their frontal cortex isn't developed yet, so they're not thinking long term. They're thinking right now, and right now, what I just did or said, like lying, for instance. It's very difficult to explain to a little kid that lying is not a good thing. When they're like, well, wait a minute, I just lied and I got in trouble. That's a great thing.
It's difficult to explain to an adult.
Yeah.
Especially a teenager then.
Yeah.
Like, that's not just little kids. I think it's difficult to explain to anybody.
Yeah. Lying is not the way to go, guys.
Yeah. Especially when they get away with it.
Well, that's my point, is that immediate gratification you get, and you're thinking, all I got to do is lie. Yeah. But what you're not realizing long term, not to sound cliche, but it's just not. You can't do it because it builds upon another one and another one.
Right. Life
becomes really complicated. You don't remember who you told what to. But at the moment, you're not thinking all that.
No.
At the moment, you're just thinking immediate gratification right here, right now.
Yeah.
This is what I want. And I guess that's what we're trying to do today is to help you understand, don't give up long term for short term.
Yeah.
Don't give up happiness for glee or satisfaction or joy or whatever you want to call it. Don't give up that happiness.
And don't you think the worst thing about it is that if you get away with it, because I think one of the problems is if you get away with it, it's harder not to repeat.
Of course.
Because it works.
Well, you think it works.
Yeah.
Because
it worked for the moment. It worked for whatever you did. Like, I don't think there's one individual in my life right now that just
Mine too.
did something
Mine
she
too.
shouldn't have done.
Mine too.
And she got away with it. Now, on one hand, I'm applauding her, and I'm saying, that's a pretty good little hustle there. I got to appreciate that. But on the other hand, as long as she understands that that's not something sustainable, that's not something to build upon, that's not a real good trait for so many things in your life. So be careful that you're not petting the wrong beast, petting the wrong puppy there.
Exactly. Well, like I think there was a statement you said when we did one of our relationship shows, and you were saying how the truth always comes out.
Always.
Right? And it might not be today or tomorrow. It might be years from now. It's going to come out eventually.
Always.
And so I think that's a classic scenario. That's a classic example.
Yeah.
Like you're going to pay if you do the crime, you're going to do the time eventually. So it's best just not to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think the problem, though, once again, is fundamentally, I think that as a society right now, the vast majority of people really, truly, honestly believe that happiness is a feeling. And I think that's the problem. It's not a feeling.
Right.
It's a state of mind.
Right.
It's not a thing. It's not something to obtain. It's something to I don't know what the word I'm looking for, to emit. It's not happiness. Isn't something you obtain. It's something you kind of give away almost.
Right.
And so
happiness is a little pool of water inside your soul. That if it's empty, it's empty.
Wow. That was beautiful. Did you read that on a Hallmark card this morning?
No, I just was thinking about when you were describing it. That's what came into my head.
Well, I'm just saying that too many people think, happiness. Like whenever I hear people who are unhappy, right? Somebody's talking about they're unhappy about something,
right?
When they start talking about finding their happiness, right? Because when you're unhappy, for the most part, I would assume that most people want to be happy.
Yeah.
And so the problem is though, when you ask them, all right, well, how are you going to obtain happiness? Then they start thinking, okay, I'm going to change things. And they talk about changing all the wrong things. I'm going to change my job. I'm going to change my scenery. I'm going to change my city. I'm going to change my spouse.
Right.
I'm going to change my outfit.
Some of that may work though.
Temporarily.
I knew a person that was unhappy with his job. He changed his job and now he's happier.
Okay. I would say that rabbit hole goes probably deeper than that, but.
He worked. I'll tell you the story.
Okay. Let me hear it.
Okay. This guy was unhappy with his job. Felt like he was caged and restrained, and he didn't feel that the employer gave a damn about it, even though I think they were paying him very well. They were paying him so well he ended up buying a house.
Sounds like a very familiar story.
Because he was getting paid well, but he wasn't happy with his job. So one day he just chose to leave it, and by leaving it and pursuing another dream, he actually feels a lot better.
Yeah.
So sometimes it works, right?
If we're talking about the same person, which for those of you who don't know, I think he just told you my story. No, I found happiness prior to leaving. It was my happiness that let me leave. It was the fact that I knew I was going to be happy regardless. It was the fact that I was no longer clinging to something external that was going to make me happy.
Right.
So it was my self-love, to be honest with you, that made me quit my job
right.
and go do what I wanted to do. But
I do like external things, though, man.
I love external things. I'm not saying. Whoa, hold up. I just got done. Playing a weekend full of a brand new game that came out that I immensely enjoyed.
Right.
My pleasure impulses per second were going nuts.
Yeah, you texted me thinking I was Carlos.
I loved it.
I didn't understand the text.
Yeah, I'll explain that one later. But anyways, I love things, right?
Yeah.
But I don't. Stop.
You don't depend on.
I don't think that they make me happy.
Right.
They provide me joy and pleasure.
Right,
I enjoy it.
Right.
But my happiness is going to come regardless if I'm playing or not.
So that's the cool thing. So kind of go deeper in that with me then, and then this pleasure concept, because pleasure is so
it's
pleasurable.
Awesome. We're
right?
wired to love it. We're
right.
wired to chase it. You know, because it feels good.
Right.
If something feels good, you want it to last forever. Mm-hmm. But it can't.
Yeah. Well,
everything's impermanent.
It's amazing how. We think like if you look at it like money, like stock market, like you know what I mean. The stock market always goes up and down.
Sure,
it's just the way it goes. Now, in the long run, it will make you money. In the long run, you will be okay with it, especially if it's like a more of a secure thing. It's well diversified. It's like a mutual fund or some sort of growth fund.
Using a bunch of big words.
Well, I'm just saying, if you're doing that stuff, eventually it's going to go up and you're going to be happy with it. But if you're looking for it had to make money for me today. You know,
Yeah,
like
stock
day
market-
trading.
yeah.
Like,
Ooh, that's a
well,
rough
like
one.
day trading is a little bit more risky.
Yeah.
And it
I did
involves
it
a
for
lot
a
of
little
pleasure
while.
and a lot of pain.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Right? But it's not going to provide that long-term happiness that, like,
No.
what it does, like, when you just put money into a mutual fund. That's
Right.
more happiness because it's going to be there for when you need it. And I guess I relate it all to finances because I've had a lot of money, I've had no money.
Right.
And the money's never really made me happy. It gave me some pleasure at the moment because I could do some things,
Right.
but not real happiness.
Well, I think, there's a couple analogies and a couple stories that come to my mind immediately that I've told over the years
Right.
that really kind of put this point out there a lot for
Right.
a lot of people. First and foremost, I would say is, as with anybody, like I have cars that I enjoy,
Okay.
like a favorite car type of deal. I know a lot of people who, let's say that they like Mercedes, right? We'll just throw that as a brand out there.
Mercedes.
So if Mercedes is your favorite car, and let's say you're struggling, you're not you're in like a Pinto or something, right? Or
Do those even still exist?
I don't even know.
You talk about my age. Pinto.
You're in a horrible car. It's a
Okay.
trashy car or whatever, and your dream car is a Mercedes.
Right.
You go walking through the parking lot, and you see this beautiful, amazing Mercedes. And you walk up, it's dirty, it's filthy. They haven't washed it in forever. You look inside the window, and there's like McDonald's wrappers everywhere. There's trash inside. Most people's first thought is,
Dahlia, clean your car. That's my first thought.
But if they see that, and that's your favorite car, your first thought is like, oh my God, how would you do that to that car? I would never do that. If I had that car, I would be so great. It's, oh my gosh, why would you do that?
Right.
And then, let's say you have a stroke of great luck, and you end up getting that car. Within about 6 or 7 months, maybe longer, maybe less, depends on who you are, that car will no longer have the same luster. Eventually, at some point, it'll just become a car. Because now you're paying for it every month, and it's not as fun anymore. I'm not saying that you won't enjoy it. I'm just saying it won't have that same status that it once did. It might be the fact that you lose it completely, or it might be just the newer model comes out, now you want that one. The point is, you thought that car would just make you happy. Once you had that car, you would love it so much, you would never treat it that way. But when you got it, you realized, at first you might have done that, but it's hard to sustain because it's not happiness.
Yeah, where else am I supposed to put my McDonald's bag?
Yeah. So at some point, it just becomes another car. And that's the same thing with like kids. There's like, oh, I want these shoes so bad. And then when you get them, after 6 months, they're just
6
shoes.
months?
Who knows? I'm just
Dude,
using
the
numbers.
day after on my kid, man.
I'm just
What are you
using
talking
numbers.
about? Yeah, you better use smaller numbers.
Yeah. My point is that we as human beings, adults and kids alike, we attach this supposed happiness to something that gives us joy and pleasure.
Right.
Like my truck, for instance. I love my truck. This is like my dream truck. I've always wanted the truck that I have.
Right.
For those of you who don't know, I have a matte black Toyota Tundra. Loved it. That was my dream truck. That's what I had. Oh my gosh, it was fantastic. But thankfully, I got it once I was already into my spiritual self.
Right.
So I didn't have any delusions that my whole life was going to be great and awesome. I was going to be so happy when I got this truck. I knew as much as I loved it, I appreciated it. It's still just a truck. And so I put it in its proper place. Had I thought that was going to bring me happiness, I'd be awfully disappointed at the moment because it doesn't bring me anything other than here to the studio, and elsewhere.
Yeah.
And
it demands a lot to do that.
Oh my God, dude, that thing's such a.
Yeah.
She's so thirsty.
Yeah.
Anyway,
She's like a little crackhead.
Oh God. Yeah. Anyways,
She wants.
so my point is though is too many times that we do confuse ourselves in thinking that this pleasurable thing is happiness.
Yeah.
And the problem is it's unsustainable. You're now attaching what should be a permanent emotion to an impermanent solution.
Right.
In other words, I want happiness long term, then you should stop attaching it to something that's going to depreciate very quickly. Those shoes, that car, whatever it is, there's a newer model made every year. And so that means every year you're not going to be happy until you get the new one? What happens if you're in a worse financial situation, you can't afford it? Well, now you're just going to be destined to be unhappy for the rest? No. And which leads me to probably, and I've used it numerous times, I'm sure we have a previous show where I've said this story, but I say it all the time because it is literally the most perfect explanation I've ever had in my entire life. And I've been doing this for years now, and I've had this conversation countless times.
Okay.
And this one particular instance was the best example I've ever heard of happiness.
Okay.
So as usual in a group, with this discussion, I went around and asked everybody what makes you happy. And they all come up with, various subjects and various things, people, kids, dogs, whatever. And then I always tell them, well, that's more pleasure, not really happiness. And then there's one individual was in a group, and he says, all right, this is what makes me happy. He said his parents owned a house up in the Carolinas, I think it was. And he said happiness to him was sitting on the porch of that house in a rocking chair when the winds breeze, the nice little breeze in the air. There's a lake right there. It's just kind of like a peaceful moment. That's happiness to him. And so I said, so you're telling me that by saying that that's what makes you happy, you couldn't be happy in the middle of a city somewhere? Like you couldn't be happy somewhere else? And so my point in making, the point I was trying to make with him was, in that exact moment, your bank account could have been bigger.
Right.
The house could have been more expensive and nicer. The rocking chair could have been more comfortable. The breeze could have been a 1 temperature degree, higher or lower. The lake could have been better. Bottom line is there's so many other things that could have been changed that you weren't necessarily happy with or think that it was perfect. The difference is you weren't thinking about any of those.
Right.
You were just content. In that moment, you were just happy. You were just good. That's what happiness is. See, we think happiness is like a 10. No, happiness is not a 10. Happiness is just, I'm good. Whatever that is for you, I'm good. I'm just content.
You already know mine. I
5.
still I was 5.
Yeah. But that's the thing is we attach this idea of happiness to things that bring us immense joy.
Yes.
But the problem is that immense joy goes down. It doesn't last forever. Happiness can last forever. Happiness is this idea that I'm good. Happiness
is knowing also that I can go have a 10, but I'm satisfied with 5. But I can go have a 10 because some days I'm not satisfied with a 5 at the moment. I know I can hit a 10.
Sure.
So the ability to go out there and create 10s in your life and know that they're temporary. Sure. And accepting that they're temporary is part of my happiness.
Well, the other thing is people oftentimes when they hear me talk about this, they didn't automatically jump to that whole settling thing, which is I think you said earlier.
Right.
That means I should just settle for everything.
Right.
No, you should have goals, right? Like I have goals.
Right.
We as a station, we have goals. We want every single one of you guys to subscribe to our channels. Right. We want every single one of you guys to share it. I'm giving you some subliminal stuff here. Yeah. Share it. Send it to all your friends. Tell us all. We want that. That's our goal as a station. We want to continue to grow and get a larger, fan base, whatever.
Yeah.
And if that happens, that's awesome. I mean, we check that off our list. It's a goal that we had, and we'll come up with another one.
Yep.
But if it doesn't happen, I'm still happy. I'm going to be good.
I think we're happy doing it. Just doing it.
Exactly. But so my point is, you can have you can have goals, but you don't have to attach your happiness to the outcome of those goals. It's the journey. It's the process. It's just doing what I enjoy doing. I'm happy with. And so goals are one thing, but attaching happiness to a specific goal that you can't control, by the way, that's not happiness. That's not going to bring you happiness. And so I think there's a real need for people to understand that difference. I really do. And I try to do my best as a parent now to get my kids to understand that. Very, very hard, especially for my little ones. They don't comprehend some of that yet. But I do for my 14-year-old, I am trying to. And for my 18, soon to be 19-year-old, it's a little bit more difficult as well. He thinks he knows everything at the moment.
Oh, you mean he doesn't?
Exactly. Dude, I wish I was half as smart now as I thought I was when I was 18.
Man, at 18, you're the smartest ever.
Exactly.
I've been getting stupider ever since 17.
Exactly. But anyways, so that's the thing, though, is we keep attaching happiness to the stuff, things, or even people for that matter.
I was going to say.
Even people.
I was going to say. Hey, you could bring up that R. Kelly thing right now. Is a good time to bring up that.
Sure.
They thought he was going to do it.
Well, that's a
segue.
Great segue. That's actually a really good explanation, or a really good example of how somebody thought this is going to make me happy.
Right.
But long term, it brought them nothing but sorrow.
Oh.
Right. So a lot of these young girls went into the situation with R. Kelly thinking that it was going to make them happy. Now, I don't know what all their motivations are, but I know they run the gamut, right? There's I'm going to become rich and famous. Yeah. Oh, this guy's, he loves me. He's going to treat me right. He's a celebrity. There's all sorts of different.
Yeah. At the very least, you feel a level of importance because you're around somebody of importance.
Yeah. So,
in your opinion.
Yeah. So, you're thinking that's going to make you happy if you obtain all these whatever they are that mean something to you.
Right.
And then when you get into it, then you start to realize this isn't what I thought it was.
Yeah.
It's not making me happy. And now I'm in a situation where I don't know how to get out. And it's ruining my relationships with my family and so on and so forth.
And you're not even realizing that you're preyed upon because of your unhappiness.
Exactly. Oh, that was deep.
Yeah.
That was deep.
Yeah, because a predator only sees the unhappy, only sees the wounded.
Yeah.
Only messes with the wounded and unhappy.
And man, that was, good for you, bro. Look at you pulling out nuggets of wisdom today.
Well, I'm a very wise guy,
man. I
bro.
love that.
But the dope doctor was a better name than wise guy.
Yeah, you wise guy. But no, I think you just hit it right in the head. Like a deeper topic, even philosophically speaking, is when you are not happy and you do attach. You're constantly going these highs and lows all the time, bouncing back and forth between extreme pleasure, which you think is happiness, and extreme sorrow, because that happiness came to an end. Because that's the thing that they don't tell you about good stuff, right? Good stuff comes to an end, So there's built-in sorrow in everything positive, because it's going to stop at some point. No matter how great this sandwich is, oh, this is the best sandwich. You're going to eat it all at some point,
right?
So this idea though that you're bouncing back and forth, it does make you more vulnerable, because you're so desperately seeking that happiness. You're just trying to fill that void, and because you haven't realized that void is within you, and it can only be filled within you, you're looking for the next thing that can fill it.
Right.
You've convinced yourself that all these things outside of you will make you happy. So when one doesn't work, oh well, this one will. I'm going to just keep chasing it, and that is a never-ending cycle.
Oh my God!
It's never going to be filled. And it makes you more susceptible to people like R. Kelly, who can come in and promise you that happiness, give you some feelings of pleasure and joy that you confuse as happiness, and you're like, oh, I'm good. And then you can slowly let everything else go in your life because you've attached your happiness to this thing now.
Right.
But the problem is this thing won't stay happy forever. At some point, it's going to stop. Even if it's not R. Kelly, even if it's a good, upstanding human being, that's a lot of pressure to put on a spouse to make me happy. Because at some point, that spouse is going to upset you. They're going to do something you don't like. Does that mean that they're not making you happy anymore? No, it just means they're a human being.
Well, there's a lot of people, number one, undeserving of that weight and responsibility.
I don't think anybody's deserving that.
But there's a lot of people that also are unable to deal with that weight and pressure. Like I don't want that weight and pressure.
No.
There's been conversations in my relationship, especially in the early years, is don't put all that weight on me.
Yeah.
Not that I can't carry it if I have to. I just rather not, because I don't want there to come a day where I resent you for that. That I had to carry us through moments that realistically you need to be happy on your own right. Because what if I disappoint? Right. What if I do things that are disappointing? Right. I don't want you later then go, man, see, I did this for you all these years and look how you made me miserable. Because when I was counseling individuals in a marriage situation before I had the years of marriage, I would hear things like that. I would hear people bring up things that were like 10, 20, 30 years away, and I'd go home and go, don't you come back to me 20, 30 years from now and say stuff.
Remember that one time?
Yeah. In other words, when you make big decisions, I like to make sure we're both good with this, right? Because I don't want to hear later, well, I did that because of you.
Right.
In other words, there's a lot of people out there that, like you said, maybe nobody deserves that kind of weight. And I would say there's you, and there's your faith and your belief. Right. Outside of that, there's people closer in the circle, but they're not in that inner circle. And that inner circle is only you and your faith. Outside of that first layer, there may be your spouse, your loved ones, your family, but it's still a first layer.
Yeah, well, I mean,
there's only one true inner layer, and that's you.
Yeah, well, the whole thing that we've said on here before, you can't fill from an empty cup.
Right.
Like if I'm coming into a situation, it's unfair to, like my wife, for instance. It would be unfair to her for me to come into the situation unhappy, expecting her to fill it.
Right.
Because first of all, as you pointed out, that's just a lot of pressure to put on her. Secondly, she can't do it. It's impossible. It's never going to happen. Because if I don't change my mindset, she's going to constantly be a failure.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to live that way.
Yeah. And what happens when it stops being, it stops meeting that expectation?
Exactly.
Then what are you going to do? You're going to step out.
Well, you're going to get upset. You're going to blame it on them, and then you're going to move on to the next one. And the next one's going to repeat the same cycle over and over and over again.
Look, man, there's a lot of people out there that in relationships that expect the other person to you complete me, you give me all my happiness. Look, I complete me.
Right.
However, you're a great compliment to my completion. You know what I mean? This is great dresser material, but there's something inside me that feels really good about being there for you as well. But I don't want to turn into the codependent. I don't want to be the person that gives so much of myself to make you happy. Yeah. Because I think that's what I'm doing, that I become unhappy myself. Yeah. So we have to be able to stand alone.
Absolutely.
If we cannot stand alone, then one of us is going to tip over.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. One of us is going to have to give. Now, this is not a negotiation. In negotiations, one has to give. There is compromise.
Sure.
But in a spiritual connection between two people, you have to be able to stand alone. I that's my opinion.
Well, that's the whole thing. You're here because I want you, not because I need you.
Yes.
Kind of thing.
Yes. You know? I want Dana.
Absolutely. I want my wife.
I want her right now, actually.
Aw. I took that the all way, not the ew way.
Yeah, well, you take it the all way because later on it might be the ew way.
Exactly.
I don't want her like in an R. Kelly way. Don't make it ooh.
Oh, jeez. Anyways, I digress. No, but you know, like
maybe
I said,
a Levert way.
You know, so the point people have to realize is happiness does come from within, and it's your job.
Yeah.
Right. But when you're unhappy, stop trying to change everything outside yourself.
Right.
It's not those things that are feeling unhappy. It's you. So you have to change you. You have to change your outlook on things. You have to change your perspective. Right. There's people out there. There's a guy told me one time that I knew. He said the only truly free people are the people who have nothing. Right? Because you have nothing that you're a slave to at this point. You have nothing that is holding you back or whatever it may be. You're not trying to work to maintain anything.
Right.
And so the point I was making that is I've met some people out there who have really rough. We've all seen it, right? Like you turn on any show that's out there, like Undercover Boss, whatever. Any show that's out there that you're watching that's like a reality type show.
Right.
There's always somebody on there that has like the most devastating story you've ever heard.
That show has a lot of it.
Yeah, it's the most like, oh my gosh,
right.
I can't believe that you've been through this entire stuff.
Right.
But if you notice something, a lot of them, they have like the greatest outlook, the greatest personality.
They usually do.
They're good.
They usually do.
Because they've learned the most important lesson, and that's happiness comes from within. They've learned how to accept it for what it is, not what they want it to be.
Well, they've learned if they tell that story and have a good attitude about it, they may get $30,000.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, if that's the case, man, send them my way. I can tell you some sad stories.
You should always, look, man, there's two concepts that I think that you and I both agree on. You should always work as if you're on Undercover Boss or you at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah. Yeah, well, 'cause you never know who's watching.
Those two things, you can't go wrong. Yeah. Act like you're on Undercover Boss and you work at Chick-fil-A. You'll be a great employee.
I always act like somebody's watching you, man, because they are.
Yeah.
We covered that show last week, I think, or the week before. Anyways, but yeah, I think so. My point is if these people who have these amazing, horrific stories, they're just like they've been through so much, and they have such a good outlook on life, and they're so positive and upbeat. Have you ever stopped to ask why? Like, how can these people have gone through so much and suffered so much, but they're so happy? If happiness really truly does come from the things outside of you, they have more reasons than anybody to be unhappy, and yet they aren't. It's because they've learned how to look at life differently. Go ahead.
But some of us are annoyed by some of that too happiness, right? I mean, I know like there's people that I've met that I have to be okay with them being overly like I can't spend a lot of time around them because they're like almost too happy. You know, it's like they're whistling and like there's birds flying around them, like they're on some sort of Disney movie or something.
Yeah,
like that, right? And I'm,
I don't, I don't hate those people, but
no, I didn't say hate. I mean, just some people are overly outward happy to the point where it's almost like this can't be real. Like there's a human part of me that's like hard to imagine that being authentic. I think I at least for me, I prefer being around individuals who are authentically unhappy some of the time, happy some of the time, angry some of the time. Which is something.
Okay.
No, that's always.
See, my thing.
I like all emotions, though.
I do
some
too.
people seem to only have one emotion.
Well, that's just what they're showing you. Doesn't mean that they don't have them.
I said hanging out with them. Though.
Well,
I'm talking about that's why I can't hang out with them because all I see is one of them.
You know, you got to remember too, though. When I'm saying happy, I'm not necessarily talking about the people who are joyous all the time.
There you go.
I'm talking about just happy. I'm
happy,
good.
joy.
Like I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I have moments where it appears like I'm not very happy. Like I have moments where
I'm you grumpy. I know.
Yeah, I'm like everybody else. I have a full range of emotions.
Yeah.
But I'm still happy. Even in those moments.
I don't know your full range, but I know you got at least 3.
Yeah. If somebody were to ask me in those moments where I'm grumpy or I'm dealing with something, whatever, if they ask me, "Are you happy?" I'd say, "Yeah." I would still, in the heat of the moment, I would still, I'm happy. I'm upset at the moment, but I am a happy person.
Right.
Why would I not be?
We just misused the word, is what it is, right?
I think so. That's the whole point. Is they confuse happy with joyous, happy with pleasure, happy with this thing, this person, this whatever.
Do you use the word joy like on a daily basis? You use that word joy? Is that a word you normally use?
No.
I was gonna say that's just a word I
don't normally use that word.
I don't even know if it translates.
I use it only because I think it's effective.
Like joy to the world. I mean, I still don't. Yeah. I hear the word joy.
Yeah, I don't. That's not in my vernacular on a daily basis.
Right. Okay, I just want to make sure.
But this is Dharma time.
But pleasure. Like when you say pleasure,
right? Well, you use the phrase "pleasure impulses per second" at least 4 times a day.
I love the word pleasure.
Yes, I was actually thinking of you when I was playing that game. I was thinking pleasure impulses per second.
Pleasure impulses per second, bro. I think pleasure is absolutely a necessary part of life.
Yes.
If you don't find things in your life that give you pleasure, if you don't find something in your life that has purpose attached to it, I find it difficult to be happy. How I sustain my happiness is appreciating that it's my responsibility to find temporary moments of pleasure and little things that I can derive from that I can take with me somewhere else, like a memory of it or something that I can hold. Like if this hat right here has a memory attached to it, now, I can have that with me, but I don't put so much weight that if I lose a hat, I'm going to crumble.
Right. Well, I could argue, though. I could argue that you're able to find pleasure in things because you are happy.
Yes.
I could argue that.
Yes. I'll agree with you. I won't argue back.
Well, there you go. Because the thing is, if you're truly happy, then you're able to find pleasure in things. If you're a really unhappy person, if you're not right inside, if you're not happy within yourself, then you're going to find, a detriment to everything that you do. You're going to be that person that's like, hey, you having a good time? Yeah. I mean, I guess it's going to end in a little bit, though.
Yet I'm a very moody person, though, Trinity. I mean, on the outside, I'm a very moody person.
Sure.
Even so even to my own family that's supposed to know me really well, they'll be like, "Kyle, why you sound so grumpy?" And I'll be like, "I'm actually very happy right now."
Oh, dude, I get that every day.
Like, dude, I have a grumpy face. I have a resting bitch face a lot. Yeah. I have a resting angry face
I get
a lot.
That a lot.
As a matter of fact, I'm very aggressive even when I'm saying good morning.
Yeah.
But that I'm still happy.
Well, I get that a lot as well because I'm not the joyous person walking. I'm like, "Hi guys, how you doing?"
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not that guy. And oftentimes, I do have an aggressive nature to me.
Yeah.
I have a very, blunt nature as well, and I do have days where I'm just completely disconnected, right? Like I will be disconnected from whomever it is I'm around because my thoughts are elsewhere, or my brain is always working a million miles a minute.
Right.
And so it appears as if I'm disconnected or whatever, but I'm still happy. That's what they, I think once again, people attach a certain ideal to happiness.
Yeah.
They think happy means, "Hi, how you doing?" And no, that's not the same.
That's annoying.
Well, it can be for some people. What I mean is
someone says good morning. So don't tell me what to do. have a good morning. Don't tell me what to do.
Is it really?
Yeah. For who?
But I'm thinking there's just a few people I know of in my life that I've encountered over the years that reinforce this to the nth degree. Yeah. Like I've had people in my life that I know. There's a guy actually I'm thinking of right now. As a matter of fact, his name is Columbus.
Of course, it's Columbus. It's probably Cologne for real.
No, he's a big black dude named Columbus. To be honest with you, he's he's if I were to say big teddy bear, and whatever you pictured in your mind is him. Mm-hmm. He's just this big black dude who is strong as an ox, dude. Like I'm talking, this guy's got strength that I never even knew existed. But talking to him, over the years that I've known him, I haven't talked to him in a long. Matter of fact, I just actually talked to him a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, just out of the blue, he reached out to me, which I thought was really cool.
I know. That's probably why you're thinking about him now.
Yeah, but I've known him for years, and I used to work with him. And he worked with us at the Postal Service, but he also had a full-time job working for the county. So the dude was putting in over 80 hours a week just in those 2 jobs alone. Had like 3 or 4 kids at the house. I mean, the dude just, for all intents and purposes, he should be exhausted every day. He should be grumpy and miserable because
it's easier to work than raise 4 kids, man. I'd stay out of the house too.
No, he raises them too when he gets home.
Oh, jeez.
So my point is, he would have every reason to just be exhausted and miserable and just work. But every time I talked to him, man, he was just like, "Hey, what's going on?" Very genuine. He wasn't like joyous,
right?
But he was. I could tell that he was good. Like he was never complaining about stuff. When something would happen, he would always just be like, "Oh, well, that's how things go." Sometimes he's just very upbeat, very positive outlook individual. Mm-hmm. Every time I talk to him, and I just so happen to know that he's dealt with things like emotional, health-wise, with his family, and even in the midst of all that, he's just good, and that is happiness.
Yeah,
in the midst of
I like that
turmoil, you're still good.
Yeah,
and that's what I try to explain to people. Happiness. Stop this idea of thinking happiness is up here and it's a 10. Happiness is contentment.
Right.
That's a better word to me. Is contentment. Because when we think happy, we think we've been driven as a society to think, "Oh, yay!"
Yeah.
But when we say content, It's like, hey, you hungry? No, I'm good. Right?
Exactly.
That's content. Well, that same idea,
Right.
that's happy.
Right.
And that's what people don't realize. And then when you say it like that, oh, that's just boring. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's very fulfilling. It's not exciting, you're right. It's not like jumping out of an airplane, going 100 some miles an hour. Woo!
Ooh.
But that, once again, that's not happy. That's joy. That's pleasure.
Yeah.
Happiness is sustainable. Happiness is something that I can have every day, no matter what situation I'm in. And that's called contentment. I'm good.
I like some contentment.
Yeah, no matter what's I'm good. I'm all right. I'm okay. Yeah. And I think that's what we all should be striving for, is that mindset of I'm okay.
Right.
Don't get me wrong, I enjoy joy.
Right.
I enjoy pleasure. I do things that are pleasurable. I seek that out, and I actively try to avoid painful things.
Right.
But when pain happens, it doesn't affect my peace or my happiness. When pain happens, it's like, hey, you know what? This sucks, but it'll be over soon. It's another part of life. I mean, if I'm living, I'm going to experience pain. It's going to happen. I don't start to get completely, crazy about it and lose my mom. Why is this happening? It's just, you know what? It happened. It sucks. Let's move forward and get over it.
There's something else I think that we need to bring up with this.
Sure.
Like, because right now when you were explaining that, I think about being inquieto. Inquieto is like
No,
anxious.
what?
Inquieto is like being anxious. Like
Okay.
you have to do something, right? And there's people out there that feel like I always got to be doing something because I get anxious. Well, I used to think that. I used to think it was, and it is an internal anxiety.
Right.
It feels like an internal anxiety. It operates like an internal anxiety. I got to be doing something. I used to always have to be doing something. I always have to be moving around.
Right.
Like I'm very sedentary and chill now.
Right.
But that wasn't me. I was diagnosed ADHD, man. I was always having to do something, right? But what it was insecurity. What I found out, it wasn't so much that I had an anxiety disorder. It was these insecure things in my head based on some trauma of how I interpreted the traumas that I experienced. So there's a lot of people out there that think they have anxiety. That's why they have to be doing something. And I would like to challenge you to kind of process through some of the things that may have happened to you and how you dealt with those to get a sense of calm. Because without having a sense of calm, it's very difficult to be happy, because it's very difficult to appreciate the stillness, the silence.
I can agree with that.
I used to not be able to deal with silence and stillness. That was almost like I had to do something with it. And now I feel like I can appreciate a lot more. And I practiced it in California when the whole life changing started happening. I used to practice it in California, where I would just kind of put on a flame and music, and I'd watch
Put on a flame?
like a candle.
Oh, okay.
Like and then like in a dark room, a candle dances on the ceiling is what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like it kind of dances on the ceiling, and I would put on music like The Doors, and I would kind of like just.
I thought you were going to listen to Lionel Richie.
like
dancing on the ceiling.
Not my kind. So I would just listen to it and just watch that flame dance, knowing I'm going to allow myself to feel real intoxicated right now without being intoxicated. This brain knows how to feel intoxicated.
Right.
I've been there plenty of times. I know how to get there, and I would allow myself to get there. That gave me such a sense of power,
right,
that at any moment I could do that. So I had these red sunglasses that I could put on, and so when I moved here to Florida, I used to do it a lot. I used to put on these red sunglasses and turn on the music in my car and drive with the red sunglasses. And by the way, not that I'm recommending to do this, but by doing it, I could get back in that space through music. I guess what I'm saying is you have to find little tricks that can allow you to do the things that you thought were uncomfortable and impossible.
Right.
That could allow you to enjoy the sense of calm, because I really do feel that white noise inside your brain, that noise that just seems to makes it very difficult to get to happiness.
Absolutely.
Because it feels like there's an impending doom around the corner unless you get up and do something.
Well, the other thing that reminded me of, I guess, when you were talking about that is a lot of times what contributes to this feeling of unhappiness or whatever is this feeling of the way things ought to be.
That's for sure.
And I think that
should is.
Well, this shouldn't be this way.
Yeah, masturbation is what I call that.
We had a show on masturbation actually back in the day.
Yep.
You can
Go look it up.
You can see it on youtube.com/Dharma Time.
That's right.
But yeah, we have this idea, this concept of this is how things are supposed to be, right? And to be honest with you, that is the first part of Buddhism. That's the first truth, really, is accepting things the way they are, essentially, right? It's just understanding that this is how things are going to be. There's positive and negative. I mean, it's just life. That's how we do things.
And accepting it is not liking it.
Exactly. There's a huge difference between accepting things and liking it.
Accepting it is just giving you a starting point from where to go.
Exactly.
If you accept that you are there, and you're not in denial about it, then you can make a plan to move from there.
Absolutely.
But if you don't accept it and you're blind to it and deny it, then you can dip even further lower.
Yes.
No bueno.
So the first truth, right, is life is suffering. Like, all life is suffering. It's worded in numerous different ways, essentially.
Right.
But the first truth is everything is suffering. Meaning, there's pain in everything.
Jesus, that just sounds
it's
horrible.
actually, I use the word pain personally. But,
yeah, everything is suffering.
Pain is a part of life. Is really
I like that better.
Is the way I personally word it.
Yeah.
Pain is a part of life, and when I tell people that, oftentimes they're like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Pain is always a part of life. Like when you go through life, there's always going to be something that is painful.
Yes.
And pain is a spectrum. Pain is, I couldn't find my keys this morning, to my neighbor just died, to my mother just died, to whatever. Pain is a spectrum, and no matter what happens, every single day of your life, something painful is going to happen. Yeah. And I think the problem is, when it comes to happiness, is I think we all wake up and we have this expectation, this idea of what our day is going to be like.
Yeah.
This is what it should be. And then we put that in a little box. And then when the day starts and we start to go through our day, something happens that's outside of that box.
Right.
And we get upset. We start to figure out, like, wait a minute, this is not how things are supposed to be. So we spend the rest of our energy in our day trying to put things back into the box. Like, no, this is where it's supposed to be. And that's an exhausting lifestyle because life doesn't give a shit about your box. Life doesn't
Damn
care.
sure doesn't.
Life is doing what life does. You're the one that created the box. And so you keep trying to put all these things in the box, and you're just exhausted. It reminds me of that.
We're going to need a bigger boat.
Yeah. Well, it reminds me of the Lucy thing when she was at the chocolate factory, right? They just keep coming. You just can't keep up with it. So it's like life is just going to constantly be putting these things outside the box, and you're wearing yourself ragged. If you just accept the fact that just, you know what, it's just part of life. Some things aren't going to go your way.
Kelly Wright, who's going to be on our show in the future. We got a show coming up with Kelly Wright. She said acceptance can be indifference.
Can be indifference?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
It's an interesting statement.
And you know what? I'm going to argue that's not necessarily a bad thing. Because I'm going to say
nobody's arguing with you. You just like saying I'm going to argue.
Touche.
It makes you feel better.
That's right, man. It makes me happy. No, I would say indifferent is a good thing, though. I would say indifferent, I'm not indifferent to important things in my life.
Right.
But I think that's the difference, is realizing what to be indifferent to. Like, I'm indifferent to certain outcomes. Yeah. I would prefer a certain outcome, but if it doesn't, I'm okay.
Yeah.
The outcome doesn't matter to me as much as my decision-making in the process.
You know what's weird? Is as competitive as I am, as competitive as that I feel that I can be, I'm actually very accepting of loss. Right. I think I as long as it's of good play and I did really good. And that's not a cliche thing. I'm not saying it because some coach taught me earlier, hey, as long as you did your best. No. It's because as long as I played really hard or whatever I did and you beat me, you really beat me, I think, man, dude, I can appreciate good play. So, and I can accept that in a lot of other things.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't count other people's money.
Right.
I don't count other people's wins and my losses. I simply look at, man, I can appreciate, some studliness, some badassness.
Well, you hang out with me. Of course you do.
Well, so I just had to then. You just ended up beat into me, right?
So. I got a perfect example for that, though.
All right.
Right? To show that we all kind of are capable of that.
Right.
Lotto.
You lose all the time.
Exactly.
Is that what you're saying?
No, but what I'm saying is you get a lottery ticket. The average normal person, I'm not talking about a non-well-adjusted individual, but a normal, well-adjusted human being buys a lotto ticket.
Yeah.
I'm going to say you want to win, right? Like, you don't buy it because you want to lose.
Yeah.
You buy it because you want to win. Yeah. You're thinking about how that money could change your life.
Yeah.
And I would say that, I would love to win a lotto. You play the lotto, and you find out the numbers didn't win. The average normal person then just takes, that sucks, and throws it away. Yeah. Now, that is indifferent in a sense, but it's not really. In other words, you're not indifferent. You really wanted to win.
Right.
But because you didn't, it doesn't ruin your day. It doesn't, you're not going to go and start punching walls and get all upset.
I might if I was one number off.
That's why I said well-adjusted person. But my point being is that person who's okay in the fact that lotto ticket wasn't the winner doesn't mean now that they didn't care. They were indifferent. They cared. They wanted to win, but it didn't control their behavior. It didn't control their happiness.
They also didn't expect to win.
Touche.
I've seen Dana actually.
Once again, that's the thing about expectations.
Yeah.
Stop thinking how it ought to be.
Brother, you brought up a great example. Because let me say, my wife is the only one that has ever played lotto, probably. That actually expects to win. She'll say, I had this feeling, so we're gonna play, and I'm gonna play. And every once in a while she'll buy a lottery, and I'm like, why did you do that? Because I don't play it.
Right, me either.
And she'll play it, and she goes, no, I really. And when she doesn't win, she goes, I really thought it was gonna. I'm like, you really? There's no way. There's no Dana. There's no way. Dana really. She's like. Dana's from Disney World. Dana has little birds flying around her at all times. My wife has little birds flying around her. She really lives in.
You know what? I will test
my
that.
My kids call that a blonde bubble. Or
every
whatever.
time I've met her, she's just so happy. She's so genuine.
I don't know where that comes from.
It's awesome.
Like, where the hell were you raised? It was Clearwater. That's what it was.
Yeah.
She's from the family from Midwest, so like St. Louis, and then Clearwater. Brother, there must be some different water that she drank growing up, because I swear her views on
she's
things.
Very, very happy. She seems like very I'm good.
Yeah, and I mean, dude, she like hit the lotto. If I don't say so myself.
There you go. There you go. And you heard it here first, kids.
Heard it here.
But no, the reason why I and maybe Kelly didn't mean it that way, but maybe that's the reason why.
Well, we can always ask her when she's on the show. She's going to be on the couch live.
Absolutely. But the reason why I took it that way is because I think that is a hit that spirituality, and more in particular Buddhism, receives a lot of times. Is people hear. And I've had it in my groups where people think that it means like a robot who doesn't care about anything, is just indifferent in the world. Yeah. And that couldn't be further from the truth. I'm an emotional human being. I have a wide range of emotions that I experience. Joy, happiness, sorrow, anger. I have them all. I'm not indifferent to things.
I'm going to call out the Dharma Guy in a quick sec.
Go for it.
Because I believe you. I believe you. But here's another. I'm not really calling you out. I'm going to say this for the people that think that they read everybody's emotions on their face.
Sure.
The Dharma Guy just told you he has a bunch of emotions, right?
Yes.
But if he was if you put it in emoji, it would be the exact same emoji for every single one of those emotions.
Yes, I'm not outwardly expressive of those.
That's what I'm saying. Well, like, the face expression doesn't really change.
My facial expressions are probably always the same.
Yeah.
But my outward expression is usually either indifference or anger. When I'm angry and pissed off, that's not a hard thing to find out. Right. But when I'm really excited and having fun, I'll look like I'm good.
I know this.
Yeah. But for me, it's my highs don't get too high, my lows don't get too low.
Yeah, but not even facial.
That's just who I am, man. But I experienced a wide range of emotions. My point being,
whereas I'm very expressive.
Yes.
So
that's the Latin in you, though, bro. Like, you gotta remember, I'm the white dude, man. So I'm just like, hey guys, how you doing? So that's how I'm supposed to be.
The Viking in you doesn't express himself.
Now, if I was gonna go out there and burn a village down, I'd be very happy. Sail the 7 seas on my boat. That's lucky to make it.
Yeah.
Actually, they were great boat builders.
You guys had great boats.
But anyways, my point being, though, is a lot of times that is the knock that a lot of people have when I try to tell them acceptance and stuff. Is they like, well, no, I'm too emotional for that. I'm not telling you not to be emotional. What I'm saying is the outcome or whatever. Stop attaching your emotional well-being to a specific outcome that you have no control over.
Damn straight.
Like, stop doing that. Stop putting your happiness to things that are impermanent, things that you can't control, things that aren't going to last. No. Attach your happiness to, I'm good. I'm okay. Not, the things around me aren't where I want them to be at all times, but I'm okay. I'm good. I'm content. Mm-hmm. I'm going to work to change the things that I can change. I'm going to work to accomplish the goals that I set, but I'm okay.
And if you have faith in knowledge, like I do, if you have faith in knowledge, even if I'm not fully okay, I'm okay because I know that I can change certain things and alter this. I truly, truly accept the things that I cannot change. That was in the Serenity Prayer. In my recovery, that's the beautiful thing about having a disease like addiction, have suffered a disease such as addiction, because it's so, it really beats you down so heavily and makes you feel so powerless and that you have to accept it.
Right.
But you accept it not to be, okay, wee little me, and I'm going to, just get beat up here. No, I accepted the fact that, okay, that's as bad as it can get. Oh, I got you now.
Right.
At least now I know that your full capability is this.
Right.
But what I have not seen is my full capability. So let me practice some things and change this. So,
like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Oh, really? I'm a phoenix now. You got 6 minutes.
This is what I felt, man. That's what I felt.
You were inspired?
That's right.
Inspired to call me Phoenix.
That's right, man. You rose from the
like River Phoenix. Poor guy died outside the Viper Room. That was horrible.
Why'd you have to bring him up, man? Like, wow.
That's what I brought back to the days when I was partying, and back then that's when he died.
Right.
You know, when I moved out to L.A., he died outside the Viper Room. It was horrible.
Yeah, well, I mean, so my whole point, I guess, because I know we're coming to an end.
Yeah.
We got to start thinking sponsors and stuff.
Yeah.
But my whole point was just, the whole point of today's show is we have to start to realize that, a lot of the things that we attach happiness to, a.k.a. pleasure, it's not really happiness.
No.
The things that you're trying to do right now to feel that joy and feel that pleasure, that high, if you will, that's not happiness.
Right.
That's a temporary, impermanent kind of emotion that you're going to feel, which is great, but that's not happiness. Happiness is more closely aligned to contentment than it is to pleasure.
Right. And remember, tolerance does exist. So if you do too much pleasure, you're going to develop a tolerance. And so those things that are pleasurable are no longer be as pleasurable. You're going to have to do like even more risky things. Like that's why you see people jump out of airplanes like without a parachute, or with a bicycle. When jumping out of the airplane alone doesn't do it, and you have to jump off a cliff in a bat suit and get real close to the cliff.
I wanted to do base jumping, by the way. There was a point in my life I wanted to.
But the bat suit, though, is what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that too.
The bat suit one. That is almost... That's like wait a minute. You require... The level of pleasure you requiring is almost criminal. I mean, that should be illegal.
I was a poster boy for that, though. I was a very adrenaline-faced.
But the bat suit is a nut. I was adrenaline-based, but the bats, never did I jump off with a bat suit.
I wanted to.
And that want would never turn into a reality for me. As much as I watched that and said, that is badass, I love that, I didn't love it enough to say, I'm going to go buy me a bat suit like I did with other things.
Well, when I found out...
There's no way.
When I found out to do that, you had to have... like your own equipment, which was like $30,000. I was like, I'm good.
Whatever. That guy was so close to those rocks.
Yeah.
When you get that close, no.
Yeah, where I'm at now in my life, there's no way in hell
I can watch that video and feel really good.
Well, there was a point I would have. Like when I was doing all the stunts and stuff and doing wheelies at 100-something miles an hour.
I would have had to be on a lot of cocaine to do that, and so if the rocks didn't kill me, the cocaine might have.
Right. All right, man. We gotta thank some sponsors and get some house cleaning done here.
All right, I'm going to turn off my microphone.
So let me first say thank you to our sponsors. We have Retreat Behavioral Health. This has been a great sponsor. We also have Journey Pure and Orange County Drug Free Coalition and Now Matters More, all four of which, mind you, were sponsors from day one. So thank you very much for that. All fantastic foundations and organizations. The last one, Now Matters More, you can check us out at nowmattersmore.org. We have a golf tournament coming up. If you check out, nowgolftournament.org, I believe it is, right? Yeah, nowgolftournament.org. Check out, April 1st is our golf tournament. Fantastic one every year. So if you golf, by all means, go sign up. If you don't golf, but you want to sponsor it, you can go sign up through there as well. If you want to just support us and donate some money because you just care about the cause, go to nowmattersmore.org and check it out. I think that's all the sponsors we got. So we got to go into our tips now. This is where I try to wrap up the whole show and give you kind of 3 action tips. These ones are mostly internal actions, but actions nonetheless. So the first one I have is understanding. Number one, understanding pleasure. Pleasure is impermanent. So these things that you give, that give you pleasure and joy, understand that those are impermanent. That's not a long-lasting thing. That's not something that's going to take you forever. Because no matter how pleasurable it is, it's going to stop. It's going to end. It's going to come down. The second one is also understand that happiness is a state of mind. Happiness isn't some external thing that you're going to grab, that you're going to hold on to. Happiness is a state of mind, is something that you're thinking. Which leads me to the third one. And the third one is understanding that happiness does come internally, which means you got to do that internal work. It means you got to work on your perspective, your thing. So when you find yourself being unhappy, don't change the things around you. Change you. I'm going to leave it right there. That was powerful. I'm going to leave it right there. That's it. Cut it. It's a wrap.
Drop the mic.
One take Jake, baby. All right, I think that's all we got. Let you know better, do better. Peace. Are you still here? What are you doing? I told you, go do better.